who you are, what your name is, where you work, what you work on, and how long you've been in Extension.
Well, I've been working in Extension since 2007 for Mississippi State University as a state specialist for forest economics, management, and taxation.
I'm Dr. Sean Tanger, and I'm a unit coordinator as well as a forestry extension specialist at Louisiana State University. Neighbors, still neighbors with this guy, but I basically have the same job he did have before his current role. And I've been there since, 2013, so almost 5 years.
So basically, Sean and I do the same job for the most part. And that's extension programs related to forest economics and management, clientele, professional foresters, timber landowners, supporting advocates of the forest products industry, and government agencies related to forestry and natural resources. So we were talking about some of the things that we encountered early on in our career, and in our area dealing with economics, and anybody working in forestry extension is going to come across this at one point early on, many times, is dealing with timber price reports. I call timber price reports a necessary evil, or your enabling stupidity is another way I look at timber price reports. People want to see them. They want to see the timber price reports. They're great as a historical reference point when you have to go back and do retroactive timber basis estimation, so you can reduce your taxable gain on a timber sale. So there it's very valuable. And it's good as a reference point as to how the timber markets are trending. The problem occurs, and no matter how many times you try to communicate this to the extension clientele, the problem occurs when a landowner looks at the timber price report and sees, okay, for this half of the state over the last quarter, timber price was selling for around $10 a ton. Well, if nobody's giving me $10 a ton, I'm being cheated.
That's right. The logger's out to get me.
Yeah. And one time I was at a County Forestry Association meeting, and I'd just given a presentation on the timber market, and I said, now this is historical information, okay, but it was $10 a ton last quarter. And the gentleman sitting in the front row with his consultant next to him goes, timber price was $10 a ton? Well, yes, sir, that's what the report shows. Looks at his timber buyer, me and you got a problem. And gets up and moves, and then the buyer's like, I don't know where I can sell timber for $10 a ton. So that was a painful lesson, felt guilty about it, to emphasize that timber prices are historical information. I mean, you can write it on the timber price report, make sure it's there, put it bold. You just got to really emphasize that. That was something that I learned about that.
And I'll follow up on that. It's a very similar story. I actually had a logger contact me on the phone and say, you're setting bad expectations amongst the landowners, because at least in the region we're at, very similar story, I can't make any money. In fact, I'll lose money if I log at the prices that you're putting in the report. So one thing I did, and it was every quarter I'll put out the price report, as James does, and as pretty much every state in the Southeast now does, right? I mean, that's kind of that's a pretty common thing. Arkansas has one, Alabama, North Carolina, you name it.
The clientele want to see it. They insist on seeing it.
Absolutely. So what I did is I actually put together, in those quarters, I'll do another 2 to 4 pages where I'll have a topic that's, I think, useful to landowners. Some people will break that up and just have the prices separate because some people don't want to read the extra stuff. But I did a 4-issue series, actually, talking about that very thing, how your individual property has attributes that are different from your neighbors, even if they're 5 miles down the road. Here's things that could either drop the price, and I don't say by how much, because they'll lock into that, right? You said 10% drop only, not 15, but things about their property that might put them at a disadvantage when it comes to whatever that quote-unquote state average is in their area. So that helps with expectations. Plus, if the logger is having those problems, he can hand it to them, hand those write-ups to them and say, well, here's the extension person, what they said. And there's a little bit more trust for a third party like extension, because we're not getting in on any of the timber sales or anything. So that helps. We have a little bit of a trusted third party. And you make it clear to all those individuals or those groups that I'm there by the phone or by email. If there's something that seems wrong, contact me, and I'll happily, if the logger calls me complaining, I'll tell them have the landowner call me. If it's the landowner directly, I'll try to address it with them. There's everybody wants hard facts, right? Well, what is the value of my property worth exactly? And that's impossible. All we can do is kind of give you the ranges and what attributes might be different in your particular case from someone else's as to why the price being offered isn't that. It's very seldom that the logger is trying to do you wrong or incorrectly. It's more often something about the property itself. So it's an educational opportunity.
One piece of advice I was given very early on in my career that has proved to be very helpful to me, and I share it with everyone new starting in extension. Real simple, and it sounds awful. If you can't report it, you didn't do it. So everything you do, you document it. Use evaluation tools whenever possible. Sometimes they can be as simple as just asking the audience a couple questions and asking them to raise their hand and making a note about that after a presentation. If it's a more formal extension program, certainly you're going to want a formal written evaluation at the end. And that's so important in your annual evaluation with your department head, and when you go up for promotion, is to be able to show knowledge impact of your programs, how many individuals you've influenced with your programs, how many acres impacted. Again,
Sure.
You can't report it.
That's right.
You didn't do it.
Absolutely. The first 2 years I was there, that was really, it had not, as a unit leader, it had not been done prior to my arrival. And so one of the first things I did was reach out to people like James. Whenever I have a problem, it's, hey, James, what did you do here?
Yeah, I call him when I have problems. We call each other a lot. We don't have problems.
Yeah. Most self-inflicted, but no, the evaluations thing, he's so right on that. Even though as a scientist you realize when you're doing the evaluations, oh, well, there's a flaw here, or I can't really get at this exactly the way that I want, that's always going to be true. You're dealing with social sciences, right? People are it's kind of amorphous in terms of how they pick things up or when they learn or their process and things. So you might not get exactly what you want, but from the standpoint of your directors, they need to be able to report numbers with respect to their funding agencies, whether they be state or federal. So even if you don't get the perfect sort of evaluation or series of evaluations, short and long term, it's important to at least develop a tool, those tools, however well you can, to have those numbers to point to. You're never going to be able to get it perfect, and that's a good rule to remember in extension generally. You're never going to be able to get it just right, but you're trying to move in that direction. So, very, very good advice.
Another piece of advice I would have is, and everyone, I think, recognizes this, it's important to network. It's important to network. So how can you network? Well, participating in professional associations like ANREP, Association of Natural Resource Extension Professionals, is an important way to network. And not only networking in terms of looking for collaborators for publication, for grant writing opportunities, but these are the people who are going to get to know you and render comments about your performance when it comes time for promotion to the next level.
As outside leaders.
I know Sean.
Yeah.
I've met him at ANREP. He's a real nice guy. I've seen his presentation. He's doing some cutting edge work.
Said nobody ever.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's really important. And another way to make yourself known while trying to network is don't stay in the shadows. Get involved. Mm-hmm. Reach out for opportunities to moderate sessions, to volunteer, to serve in leadership positions, run for offices within your professional association. And people are going to notice you. They'll know you.
And while you're doing some of those more career-defining things and things that are going to separate you or that you'll build a name for yourself with amongst your peers. There's also the day-to-day meat and potatoes things that, as forest economists, we all have to do, right? As James said, the price reports, or if it's economic contribution of forestry to your state or your particular region within your state, or how do I do per acre valuation on my property, so some of the forest management financial stuff. All those things are pretty stock, and all landowners always want them. Don't be afraid. You don't have to reinvent the wheel on those. Pick up the phone. Call your next door or two doors over extension person that may have been doing the same job you have for 5 or 10 more years. They've likely got all those already. Now, that doesn't mean you just say, hey, thanks, I'll just use those entirely, but they definitely will cut down on your startup time. You can get going on the actual job a lot sooner instead of sitting there paralyzed going, well, what do I do first? Those things, reaching out to peers, just pick up the phone and call people. That's what they deal with all the time. They're constantly getting phone calls for requests for one thing or another. They're not going to look down upon you or look badly at you for kind of being overwhelmed and confused and, hey, what do I need to do? That consensus is very valuable. I found it has been very valuable for me.
Yeah, you kind of, so the thing that we're going to ask you about was, yeah, reaching out and having unique positions, but you guys have already kind of touched on that. Is there anything else that like has jumped out at you, like, or any?
I want to go to the southern region meeting in 4 minutes.
Okay.
So the thing that makes the character, we'll finish this up, the character traits make a successful extension professional in your opinion. The best trait is probably also the biggest weakness, is your desire to do a good job and sort of an unrelenting attitude, like I want to fix this, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this other thing. You can't do it all by yourself. You need to be able to compartmentalize, and on the weekends or at night and things like that, you need to unplug, because I tried to just go, I didn't have a family and things like that, so there weren't those other people kind of saying, hey, we need some attention too. I kind of went a little too overboard, and I got a lot done, but then I had burnout, and I spent 6 months essentially just staring on, not wanting to do anything. So you got to be real cognizant of that, because when you hit that first wall in your career, you won't see it coming. I didn't, and when it hits, I mean, it really will have an impact on your productivity, and it might actually make you resentful of the job. So make sure to take time for yourself, even if it's just coming to conferences and things like that. You're still working, but getting yourself out of your day-to-day grind and kind of getting some more reflection. I think that's a very valuable piece of advice I would give to incoming people.
I have one more good piece of advice, something I wish I had known earlier on. All the programs are county driven. Get to know the county agent. Whenever you want to do a program in the county, let the county agent know. Involve the county agent, coordinate with the county agent. By all means, never just go to a county, even for a site visit, without having the courtesy of contacting the county agent. And that's mileage that'll go a long way for you, because the county agents will talk about specialists that are inconsiderate that way.
Yeah.
And with the ones that are considerate, they help them. So
That's right. They'll make your job easier. Also, if you're going to host a meeting, or if there's a meeting being hosted and you're a part of it, don't skimp on the food.
yeah, always order too much food.
As simple as it sounds.
No such thing as too much food.
They will come back if it was a bad talk. They won't come back if you gave them terrible food.
Or no food. Sometimes you run out. Don't run out.
Don't run out.
Don't run out.
It's better to maybe lose a little money or not make as much.
I'll tell you a funny story. One time I had got some food catered, and it was at a cabin that I knew had utensils. Matter of fact, I bought the utensils to go in the cabin. Well, somebody came along and installed locks on all the cabins and didn't let us know we did that. So here I am way out in the sticks, and I got this chicken and a gravy sauce delivered. Fortunately, my friend Andy Londo had a whole bunch of flat plastic silverware in the back of his car from a previous meeting. He says, Henderson, I'm going to bail you out. The dean was there. Could you imagine these people having to eat that chicken in a gravy sauce with their hands? So I don't know if the advice is to carry plastic flatware with you or not, but just be prepared for all contingencies.
Yeah, I always bring backups. I bring a backup computer, backup power cord. If it's some sort of clicker pointer thing, I bring backups for that.
Yeah, actually, I'm a clone of myself. He comes too.
Yeah. Don't trust anything to chance, because if you get there and you don't have one of those things that you critically need, the whole thing can be derailed, and then then what do you do? You might have wasted not just that day, but all the buildup and all. Think of all those individuals that are coming to that meeting. You want to always bring backups for all those materials.
Another good reason to collaborate with your county agent, because they're right there in the county with some resources that can help. I mean, you're several counties away from your office.
Yep.
You're SOL.
They probably do have plates 3 miles down the road. You don't.
All right, I'm gonna go.
All right.
All right,